seemed like a polite invitation. Bill Maher, the famously sharp-tongued political commentator, was set to host Prince Harry on his show Real Time. The episode had been hyped for days with teases of a bold conversation about monarchy, freedom, and media. But no one, not even the production team, expected what would unravel live on air. As soon as Harry walked onto the set, dressed in a tailored suit and flashing a carefully controlled smile, the tension was already thick. Bill opened with a grin, but behind it was the glint of a man who'd been waiting years to get royalty in the hot seat. "So," Bill began, smirking, "how's exile treating you?" The audience laughed, but Harry's expression barely shifted. "It's not exile," he replied calmly. "It's choice." From that moment, the tone was set, and it only got sharper. Asterisk, Bill leaned in. "Choice. Come on, Harry. You're living in a mansion in Montecito, doing Netflix deals, publishing memoirs. That's not exactly living off the grid." Harry tried to keep his composure, replying, "Just because I stepped away from an outdated institution doesn't mean I gave up my voice." Bill raised an eyebrow. "You mean the institution you were born into, protected by for decades, and now blamed for every inconvenience in your life?" The crowd gasped, some clapping, others booing. Harry blinked, clearly not used to being challenged so directly on American television. "It's more complex than that," he said, his voice tight. "My wife and I were subjected to relentless abuse from the British media." Bill cut in. "But you're sitting here because of that abuse. You wrote a book about it, made a docuseries, gave Oprah the scoop. If it was so toxic, why profit from it?" Asterisk, the tension escalated with each exchange. Harry began to shift uncomfortably in his chair, glancing briefly off stage. He responded, "There's a difference between telling your truth and profiting off pain. We told our story because it needed to be heard." Bill laughed, shaking his head. "Your truth. That's not how truth works, man. It's not Burger King. You can't have it your way." Laughter from the crowd again, but this time it was mixed with awkwardness. Harry's expression hardened. "You invited me here to mock me. You're not interested in a real conversation, just ratings." Bill smirked. "I invited you here to get answers. If you wanted a pillow fight, you should have gone back to James Corden." The audience audibly winced. Harry stood up slightly in his seat, a flush rising to his cheeks. A producer motioned behind the scenes, sensing that things were spiraling. Asterisk, but Bill wasn't done. "Let's talk about Afghanistan," he said suddenly. "You wrote in Spare about your military service, about killing Taliban fighters and feeling nothing. You don't regret writing that?" Harry leaned forward now, visibly furious. "That was taken out of context. I wrote that to show the psychological toll of war, not to brag." Bill pressed. "But why write it at all? Were you trying to prove you're not just a pampered prince? Because, let me tell you, most veterans don't get multi-million-dollar Netflix deals to tell their war stories." That crossed a line for Harry. He stood up, removing his microphone and looking off camera. "This isn't a conversation, it's a trap," he said firmly. "I don't need to be here." Security moved quickly as producers tried to defuse the moment, but it was too late. The damage was already done. Asterisk, live viewers were stunned. Social media lit up within seconds of Harry's departure, with hashtags like #Marvies, Harry, and #Royal Meltdown trending globally. Opinions were split. Some applauded Bill Maher for holding the prince accountable, while others blasted him for ambushing a guest. Twitter was flooded with clips of the confrontation, each angle analyzed frame by frame. Harry's defenders accused Maher of bullying, while critics accused Harry of being thin-skinned. Memes of the incident flooded Instagram and TikTok within hours, with one viral post showing a still of Harry storming off, captioned, "When the real world doesn't come with a palace exit strategy." Meanwhile, the clip of Bill leaning back and saying, "Guess he's not used to being questioned," was replayed thousands of times, becoming its own meme format. The cultural explosion was instant and unavoidable. Asterisk, behind the scenes, chaos unfolded. HBO released a statement saying they stood by Maher's right to host challenging conversations. Meanwhile, reps for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle issued a rare and scathing press release. Tonight's experience was a stark reminder that media toxicity is not limited to one country. We came to speak our truth, not be ridiculed. But others weren't so forgiving. Military veterans spoke up on both sides, some defending Harry's openness about combat trauma, others saying he should have known better than to bring battlefield statistics into a memoir. One former Royal Marine tweeted, "You don't write that stuff down, not if you respect the uniform." Political commentators seized the moment, debating whether Harry's public narrative had finally lost its American shine. Some said yes. Others warned that Maher had underestimated the loyalty of Harry and Meghan's fanbase, within 48 hours. Harry's team canceled 3 upcoming media appearances, including a highly anticipated 60 Minutes interview, a Netflix documentary premiere. He was set to attend in LA, was suddenly postponed due to security concerns. Yet rumors swirled that the real reason was Optics Harry didn't want to face more pointed questions in light of the Maher disaster. Meanwhile, Maher appeared unfazed. On his next show, he opened with a monologue poking fun at the incident. "I guess when you remove a crown, what's left is a very sensitive scalp." The studio roared with laughter, but critics accused him of being cruel. Still, his ratings spiked 30% after the Prince Harry episode aired. A public petition circulated online demanding a formal apology from the show to Harry. Another petition, this one supporting Maher, gained even more traction. The media had found its new obsession. Prince Harry retreated from the media spotlight. In the days following the explosive confrontation, paparazzi stationed outside his Montecito estate captured images of him jogging alone at dawn, visibly tense and avoiding eye contact with cameras. Meghan Markle, usually composed in public statements, was reportedly furious behind closed doors. Sources close to the couple revealed that Meghan had warned Harry not to accept Bill Maher's invitation. Sensing it would be a setup, she knew Maher wasn't Oprah, one insider shared. This wasn't going to be a safe space. It was going to be open season. Friends of the couple said the experience left Harry shaken and rethinking his entire media strategy. He thought America would understand him, one confidant said, but now he's questioning everything. Meanwhile, the British tabloids had a field day. The Daily Mail's headline screamed, "Harry humiliated again, flees after TV meltdown." Across the ocean, Buckingham Palace reportedly remained silent, but insiders suggested a different story. A senior palace aide, speaking anonymously, claimed King Charles had seen the footage and wasn't surprised. "This is exactly what we warned him about," the source said. "When you burn bridges, you find out how cold the other side really is." William, the Prince of Wales, reportedly made a sardonic comment during a private dinner. "Looks like America's not that keen on royal therapy sessions either." Though no official word came from the monarchy, palace watchers noted that several royal accounts posted subtle, celebratory posts on social media during the same 48-hour window. A royal commentator remarked, "They didn't need to say anything." The silence was deafening. The media began drawing lines. Was Harry a misunderstood? Meanwhile, Bill Maher was both celebrated and condemned. Major outlets ran op-eds dissecting his performance. The Atlantic called the exchange a cultural crucifixion, while the New York Post simply labeled it a much-needed takedown. Even comedians chimed in. Renoa tweeted, "Prince Harry walked into real time like it was story time." On social media, celebrities picked sides. Sharon Osbourne praised Maher for asking what we've all been thinking. Chrissy Teigen, however, criticized him for ambushing a guest to get viral moments. The split was stark. Liberal circles accused Maher of punching down, while more conservative commentators applauded his truth bombs. Even Joe Rogan briefly weighed in during a podcast episode, saying Harry thought he could do therapy on live TV and not get called out. Maher doesn't play like that. The discourse was everywhere, from talk shows to Twitter threads, to university panel discussions, inside media circles. Producers began reassessing how to approach controversial guests. One major network executive anonymously admitted, "Harry's walkout scared us. If even he can melt down, no one is safe." Guest contracts began, including more clauses about editorial control and protection from gotcha moments. Meanwhile, Meghan reportedly went into full crisis management mode. She reactivated select PR channels and began planning a sit-down interview of her own, rumored to be with Gayle King or Anderson Cooper. She wants to take back the narrative, one publicist said. She believes Bill Maher ambushed Harry, and America needs to see the emotional cost. Meghan was also said to be considering a solo project, either a podcast episode or a short documentary segment where she would unpack the emotional aftermath of the Maher disaster. Critics rolled their eyes, fans applauded her resilience. The war of public perception raged on. Owed a victim or an entitled figure finally facing scrutiny? Producers were reportedly surprised by how far things escalated, but showed no regret. That's the point of the show. The episode became one of the most watched in real-time history, with clips reposted millions of times within the first week. HBO released a limited behind-the-scenes vlog titled Uncensored: The Night Harry Walked, which added fuel to the fire. In it, they've seen joking minutes before the taping. "I'm not going to curtsy, but I might kneel if he actually answers a question for once." That line alone drew outrage and applause. Late-night shows jumped on the trend. Jimmy Fallon opened with, "Did you hear? Prince Harry walked off real-time. Somewhere in England, the Queen's ghost just did a little jig." The audience roared, but Meghan's supporters weren't laughing. What had started as a controversial interview quickly turned into a symbol of broader cultural divides. Commentators debated the line between journalistic rigor and personal attack. College campuses held forums titled Monarchies, Media, and the Myth of Victimhood. A viral YouTube essay titled Why Prince Harry Failed on American TV amassed over 10 million views in under 48 hours. Meanwhile, a British tabloid columnist described the moment as the final curtain on the Sussex-American experiment. Despite tour because of a backlash, Maher doubled down. On his podcast, he joked, "If I'd known all it took to beat Netflix in ratings was making Harry mad." Insiders claimed he had begun seriously considering a return to the not to royal duties, but to rebuild his personal legacy. Out of the Hollywood spotlight, the emotional toll on Harry was evident in his rare public appearance a week later at a charity event in San Francisco. Though smiling, he avoided questions about the interview entirely. Meghan stood beside him, her hand gripping his tightly as reporters called out questions. "No comments today," she said with a tight smile. Still, the damage lingered. One journalist noted he looked like a man trying to hold himself together with duct tape. Meghan's team reportedly arranged for trauma counselors to speak to Harry, concerned about the re-triggering of old wounds. Even sympathetic media personalities began admitting that Harry's constant public disclosures might not be healing but reopening. "There's a fine line between vulnerability and oversharing," said one therapist on a popular morning show, and the Maher interview blurred that line in real time. Suddenly, the public's appetite for royal confessionals seemed to wane. Privately, Harry was said to be drafting a long-form essay, tentatively titled Silenced by Satire, where he planned to address the events in his own words. Meghan's podcast team reportedly urged him not to release it yet. "Let the storm pass," one producer advised. "People need to hear my truth, uninterrupted." He was quoted as saying, in the essay he planned to include excerpts from therapy sessions, diary entries, and a breakdown of how media confrontations mirror his childhood traumas. Meghan, while supportive, worried it would reignite controversy. "We can't fight every battle," she reportedly told him. "If they want a villain, I'll give them a man. A flawed, wounded, real man," he said to a close friend. Whether that would help or further hurt his image remained to be seen. Elsewhere. Maher moved on, already teasing his next major guest, a Republican presidential candidate with equally strong opinions. But when asked about Harry in a Rolling Stone interview, he shrugged. He walked. "That's on him. We talk here." The bluntness infuriated Harry's fans, but delighted Maher's audience. The split was now cultural royals and idealists on one side, skeptics and satirists on the other. The moment had passed, but the wound stayed open. By the end of the month, the Maher episode had become a case study in journalism schools, dissected for its ethics, its drama, and its viral potency. What had started as a simple appearance became a generational flashpoint. Prince Harry had faced many battles, but none quite like this one, under the harsh light of live American television.